Greeting podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy Talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Cazza, also known as Caroline.
And we're friends who, like Gavin and Stacey, met online in the noughties. We connected over small humour, over how life is funny in the minutiae of things, and we also found that we like to read and watch many of the same things. And one of those things was Gavin and Stacey, which is also a show that celebrates small humour as well as kindness and bluster and people being magnificently themselves in all their flawed glory. And now that the show is having its one last hurrah with a final Christmas special, we thought we'd rewatch it all, remind ourselves why we loved it and find out whether we still do. We're in Season 2, Episode 6, where Gavin and Stacey are back to old times, but not in a good way. So let's begin with Tracy's Pracy. The episode starts, as they nearly all do, with Gavin and Stacey on the phone. This time Gavin's phoning from work and Stacey is on a different couch back in Barrie. They end their call telling each other I love you, which clearly shows us that this is a really profound problem for them. Everyone is worried about Gavin and Stacey, from Pam convincing Mick to ring Gwen to see how Stacey is, to Smithy telling Gavin he's organised a night out at a foam party to cheer him up, to Bryn at his most empathetic, telling Stacey he's not here to judge but asking gently whether she is planning to get dressed and saying it might do you good to have a little wash. The subplot of this episode shows Pam in activist mode, determined to stop a new phone tower from being built nearby. In Barrie, the main action is on a night at the bingo, while in Essex it's on the foam party that Smithy has organised with all their mates. Gavin and Stacey are having equally miserable nights. Finally, they can't stop themselves. Gavin rings Stacey. We're going to be all right, aren't we? Of course we are. So what's this episode about for you, Caroline?
I think it's just such a gorgeous take on heartbreak.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. This episode made me cry. Gavin and Stacey are very small and quiet this whole episode, and everyone else is around being absolutely 110% themselves. And they are so small and so quiet. There's Stacey not being able to get out of bed. They go out and they socialise, but their heart's not in it. It's so well done. That is that whole episode. It's just amazing.
I agree. Facing the truth that they've got hard decisions to make, and that I just think it's so nice when they I love you. So you know that that's the place they're coming from, but they just don't know how to solve the rest of it. Anything kind of cringy or problematic for you that you don't think you noticed the first time?
Big thing for me was the fishing trip. It really is referenced a lot in this episode. Jason comes home in the middle of the previous episode and stocks Island in the stream unwittingly because Bryn sees himself and Jason in a public place. And a lot of people have been talking about the fishing trip. So there's some kind of private shame that is now public. And I'm sick of it. I don't know. Are they gay shaming with it? Because they keep talking about how it's still legal in this country. And, there's been other references to it was just so cold, or we still don't know what went on. But I don't care. And I hate them making a big deal about it. I hate the shaming, and it's just cringy, and I don't think it's funny.
Me too.
I decided it's not funny.
It's not funny to me.
I think maybe when I used to watch it, I just went, oh, the fishing trip, but to me it's just...
No, I never thought it was very good writing. Like I was saying before, it's quite inauthentic to me because I don't think they know really what happened. I think it's just some trope they put in there. I don't really like it.
Yeah, let's just have a mystery about it. And it does make for... at first that awkwardness when Jason walks in and you first meet his character and everyone's just side-eyeing and Gavin can't work out what's going on. That kind of was a good joke.
Well, it could be really interesting, but, it's not. Red line through that bit of the script.
Just the sleaziness that's going with it, and other people I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. And I feel like there's so many inappropriate things throughout the show. Doris is having sex with drug dealers or whatever. People do. Dave, the coach, has given Vanessa crabs, but nobody's, they're just people talk about it and deal with it. And there's, I don't know, this one becomes this massive stigma, and because if it is an incest thing, which they kind of want, they're trying to guide you there. we shouldn't be laughing at it.
No.
Yeah. But then the smaller one was that thing about going to a foam party and that Smithy likes them so that he can feel up girls without them knowing who's doing it. I just went,
I know. Yeah, but again, it was like we said about something earlier about Smithy. It is inappropriate, but it's in character inappropriate.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I know, I wish he wasn't doing it, but his character sort of would say that.
Yeah, kind of says the things out loud that you shouldn't say, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually later on in the scene when the foam comes out, I look, the foam scene comes out and everyone's being so joyous and it's in slow-mo and there's flashing lights and everyone's happy and there's poor Gavin just sitting there lonely as a cloud. That's just a really nice piece of visual.
It is. I thought it was a good scene too.
By then I forgave the foam, whereas when Smithy said that I was like, oh, foam, no way.
Yeah. What about character development?
So we're seeing the Ness and the Dave relationship get pretty steamy and a little bridge that is starting to build is the Bryn and Jason one. And that's just gradually just getting a little bit better, which is nice. When when they're alone, they do start opening up, which I think is nice. The Gavin and Smithy relationship where Gavin looks at him and says, do you know, if I met you now, I don't know that I'd be friends with you. And I thought, oh, that's a nice little moment for Gav, isn't it?
That was a good line, particularly because Smithy really reverts to character here and him and his friends are completely clueless. So on the foam night, they all rock up wearing T-shirts from the stag, but they turn around to show Gavin that they've all written in great big black markers, back from the dead. And they're all, or not quite all, but nearly all, genuinely surprised or disappointed when he doesn't like it, Gavin doesn't like it, and they'll have to take the T-shirts off. And one of them says, oh, Smithy, I told you so. And one of them says, I'm sorry, Gav. But they've all gone through with it. And I don't know if mates are quite like that anymore. I think we've lost that edge of, I don't think mates would really do that anymore. Hope not, because it's pretty mean.
It was mean.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's so clearly miserable.
He's so sad.
You know, like maybe when you've signed off on a bitter divorce and you're putting it behind you. You might
that's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was tone deaf.
Yeah, because that's not his perception of it all. Back from the dead is not his. Like, as far as he's concerned, he's like closer to death than he's ever been. It's awful. Yeah.
And also just, you know, that whole buying in, I guess it's a bit post-lad culture, but just that thing about when all the boys carry on about, oh, R.I.P. Gavin, you get we'll never see you again, or you get less time for murder, that sort of
rubbish
bullshit wedding trope. And just think, oh, you idiots, you know. Do you know what happens to men who don't get married?
Yeah.
They're much worse off.
That's true.
You know, statistically, your quality of life goes up if you get married, whereas for so many women, their quality of life goes down.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, yeah, but...
All right, well, let's switch.
It's very much of its time. So,
that might be why it upsets me so much because there's so much truth in it. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our favourite heart moments because like you've said, there's so much love and care in this episode.
I just cried. I cried at the ending, that the whole foam and the slow-mo and their sad faces, and then they call each other. They admit they're missing and they've been sad the whole time and they have that moment of connection on the phone. It's not that their sadness falls away, but it's a shared thing. It's a bond. My God, that's why you love this show.
Yeah.
It goes on being an idiot and then gets you in the feels.
Actually, that's true, isn't it? It's that moment when they share that piece of sadness, when they see it in each other. It is. And I just think Bryn is so beautiful when he's talking Stacey through it. Oh, it's just lovely. You know, and he's like, no, I'm not here to judge. Stay on the couch if you want to. I just think you'll feel better if you have a wash. And also, despite what I've said about how awful Smithy is, I think there's that beautiful moment at the foam party, which I agree is joyous, and I loved it. Despite myself, I couldn't help myself from thinking, that looks awesome, just pure joy. And then Smithy looking wistfully at that pregnant woman in the nightclub. That was pretty cute. Yeah.
And then juxtaposing it with Gwen wins the bingo.
Oh, yeah.
They're just having a lovely time.
I feel like with moments like that, everything's pointing to, in this Christmas episode, that Smithy's going to say yes to Nessa. Mm-hmm. But I'm still not going to be surprised if they don't get married, if something else has happened in the years between and they did get married and now they're divorced or something like that, because we don't even know if it picks up the day after the last episode. Oh, that's true. They have. Yeah, they can't.
Would you want them to get married?
I don't really.
I don't.
No, I don't. Yeah.
In a sense, I do think they're kind of right for one another in some ways.
Yeah.
They've got some very... I think she'd be good for him. I'm not sure how good he is for her, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the relationship they've got is such a good one. Like, it's so nuanced and complex and respectful, and I don't think they need to be married.
Then it just kind of buys into that whole television trope that getting married is the most important thing. And I wouldn't be mad if they'd had another baby. I don't need them to get married.
I don't at all.
I think it would be good for Smithy. I mean, he obviously he needs to grow up. But, I mean, as we've said before, this whole show is about Smithy growing up.
Yeah.
Everyone else is pretty much a grown-up.
Well, Nessa's not necessarily.
I think she is.
Do you?
Yeah. She's a pretty badly behaved one. But
yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's true. It's just her meanness to Gwen. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either.
Yeah. Anyway, did you have a favourite joke or a line or a scene?
So early on, Pam is organising or part of an organisation of a protest about having a phone mast put up in the empty field. And this is, meantime, that they're all complaining about how they can't get reception in their home, which the phone mast would fix, which is very funny. But they organise this barbecue with fancy sausages and all that sort of thing, and they're all having a good time. And the phone mast people come and put a sign in, and they just sit there and they watch them do it, and they're having a silent protest so no one can say anything. And then Pam, after they have walked past again, runs up and throws the sign away and jumps in the air. And I just loved it. I laughed. It was so stupid, but it was so Pam.
I loved that whole scene. When you first see it, they've got someone strumming away on his acoustic guitar, imagine it, and Dawn's there swaying back and forth with it. Yeah. She's so good in that. I love the protest. And Pam's making A4 signs to go in the front window, and Mick's like, well, no one can see that. It's behind a bush. I really love it. It's such a good subplot. It goes nowhere. We never see anything about it again. It's never mentioned again. So it's just a sketch, basically, that they wanted to put in there.
And I guess it's the bringing the levity back into the night, because there's a lot of very sad stuff happening in this. I mean, you can't walk away from the fact that Stacey can't get out of bed because she's just so sad, and that's not comic viewing. That's so sad.
So yes, I did really like that. Nothing else really stood out for me though, but I did love that whole protest scene.
And I liked the whole episode as well, even though it didn't have all the gags in it. It was a cracker of an episode.
Yeah, me too.
Apart from getting cranky about the fishing trip.
Okay, well, I've really outdone myself. I haven't written down my question or my answer. And I can't even think what my question would have been. It would have been something about the protest. It was probably like, what song were they playing? And I've already told you what they were playing.
I was just thinking, if you asked me what sausages that Pete got from the book.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good question.
I think it's pork and rosemary.
No, pork and not bergamot, pork and tarragon, I reckon. Is it tarragon?
Oh, it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, or something like that.
I got that point. Okay, can you remember what number that got called during the bingo that caused Bryn to feel awkward?
69, I guess.
No.
Was it legs 11?
No.
Oh.
Because he was just calling out the most ridiculous things with the numbers.
Oh, clickety-click 66.
It was 43 down on your knees.
Right. I know, I wouldn't have remembered that.
Well, because that was the whole fishing trip thing. So he and Jason both had that look, and at that point I just went, oh, come on. Okay, so we have got one episode to go in this series, plus the Christmas show. I love their Christmas shows.
Me too.
They're so fun.
Yep. So in the next episode, we can be pretty clear Nessa's going to have the baby if there's only one episode left of the series. But we still don't necessarily know how Gavin and Stacey are. I think we can tell they are going to resolve it, but it's not clear to me how. Well, it is, because I've watched the next episode. All right. Well, better get off and watch that and the Christmas one, and I will talk to you next week, Kazla.
Thanks, Trace Love.